Hi, this is Jan Hibbard from Log Cabin Leather, and I'm here in the basement of my log cabin home. And today I'm going to talk to you about belts. Belts have been my best seller for 44 years. Today I'm going to tell you why I think what makes a better belt. I'm also going to answer the three most common questions people ask me about my belts or belt making in general. And then where I'm in my workshop now, I'm going to talk to you about how I actually cut my belts. So those are the things I'm going to cover today. This entire month, I'm going to do a whole series on belt making. So this is just the first of the 4-part series. The other videos in the series will include how I put the designs on belts, how I finish the edges of the belts, how I add the colors to the belts, and so forth. So again, subscribe to my channel here on YouTube, and you can follow me along and see how these things are done. You can also join my email, and then you'll get links to special deals and discounts on my products and so forth. So today, again, I want to talk about, answer the questions that people ask me. Most common question is, where does the leather come from? I do source my leather here in the United States. The company that I prefer for my belt leather comes from Ohio. The company's name is Weaver Leather, and I get these beautiful hides of leather, and what I like about them is this nice and smooth on both sides. This is the back side, the inside of the leather, not the actual outside of the belt. It's a nice smooth leather, and that's where I buy it from if I can. I do have a secondary company as a backup because, again, just recently, they were having a hard time getting the leather and so forth. And I do believe some of it is actually tanned in Mexico. American hides tanned in Mexico and so forth. Most of it, there was very few types of leather that are actually tanned here in the United States. So that's where the leather comes from. There's another company, again, I use that's in Ohio, that's in California, which is where I, buy it if I can't get it there. That company also has the beautiful colors of leather, which I use for some of the projects, not so much for belts, however. So that's where it comes from. Now, when I buy leather, I buy whole hides. Everything I buy, I cut myself, with the exception of, again, I make belts in all widths for people of all sizes. Somebody wanted a custom belt. They needed it for a 72-inch waist. Most of these hides don't come that big, but from the leather company, I can order a belt strip for that, which I did. But that's the only exception to buying, a belt pre-cut. Everything else I cut myself, and I know I keep wiggling something that's making this camera wiggle. So I hope that's not the case because I'm going to be on the table. So now when I buy these hides, I buy whole hides. Behind me is another whole hide here of black leather. I'm not sure how well that shows on the camera. Here. It is huge. So for me to cut these is very difficult because the first thing, I don't know how well that shows on the camera from over here. This edge is not straight. So now I can cut belts this way on this hide, which would give me belts that are that's 56 inches long. So in a lot of cases, I will cut a few belts that way. And then when this is rolled out, that will still give me enough, to make belts, cut belts that are plenty long the other way. Now, the other question I get asked all the time, I should probably put this so you can see my head. The other question I get asked all the time is, why do I make my belt so long? Well, again, if you take a belt strip, you see, here I'm going right here. This is a strip cut the full length of the hide. If I cut this in half to make 2 belts, this is how long each strip would be, which now, again, you've got to snip off the ends a little bit. That's going to, trim the ends and so forth. So now this is 38 inches long. Remember, you have to turn the edge here to put the buckle on and so forth, and turn the edges on each side, which means the finished length of the entire strip would be about 36 inches long. Well, all well and good, how many men is that actually going to fit? Now, so that means if it's 36 inches long, it really is going to fit like a 32-inch waist at most, would be about the largest size. How many average men are the 32-inch waist? Not too many. Now, again, that's great for the thinner person who has a hard time finding a belt for a guy because I don't usually make belts in sizes that small. But what I do is I make them long because then they can fit anybody. So that's why I do it that way, because it really isn't long enough. Even most women, that's not going to fit. Even that, this cut in half is not even going to fit around my hips. It just, it isn't. So to fit most people, I'm going to go, miss the sale because I don't have a belt in the right length. So that's another reason why I don't put holes in them ahead of time, because if it's too long, I can shorten it to fit you. So if you buy it at a craft show, you're actually going to wrap it around your waist, and I'm going to custom fit it right to you. If you're ordering it online, I do have videos, and I will talking more about that, about how you order it and how to measure it and so forth. But today I'm really going to talk a little bit more about actually cutting the belts, how I get these strips. So again, I started to say the hardest thing is working with these big hides. Let me put this down a little bit more again, because they are almost as big as this entire room. Now I'm working in my basement. It is not really set up for my, workshop. I'm working on it. This hide is as long as my entire table is here. I'm not sure how well that shows. This is my entire work area. I have shelves over on this side. This side has to be laid out flat, pretty much straight, so I can cut a straight edge. Now this edge, again, I could lie it on the table this other way, and this edge wouldn't be too hard to cut. But it's really the lengthwise that I want it to cut the full length belts. So again, and actually this is pretty long to cut belts that way, so I could cut them that way and conceivably get enough belts that I want. I am going to have to move this. No, and I don't think I can now. Get my stuff. So I'm going to set this down here, because I actually have this piece, which I was going to show you, has already been cut. Now, this is about a third of the hide, I would say. I've cut the rest of it. It has a straight edge here, which I have to use a ruler. And again, I have to do it in segments that I'm putting along, drawing a line. I'm cutting it with an X-Acto knife, is what I'm cutting it with. I'm cutting it with a small X-Acto knife. And again, I have to go through, cut it, slice it several times, and trying not to move the ruler to get the whole pieces. So once that's done, which it is done on this, now you still have to check it every now and again, which actually this is very nice and straight, because sometimes you get off a little bit as you cut. The next tool I need to use is this, which is called the belt strip. And this is what makes it really easy to cut the belts. You need to have a sharp blade in here. This is going to be set for how wide I want to cut the belt. And I use, to make things uniform, I have these special pieces that I have made. Now, if I'm making an 1.5-inch belt, it is not exactly 1.5 inches wide. It is, so what would 1.5 inches be? 8/16. It's probably 7/16, 1 inch and 7/16, because to fit through the buckle, it has to be narrower than that, because a buckle is exactly 1.5 inches wide, and if the belt is exactly 1.5 inches wide, it's going to rub as it goes through the buckle. So that's why I have these preset. So what I have to do, and light goes right here. I have to untighten this. Now this here too, you can set the distance in here, which generally is set for what I'm using for belts. You can set it for a narrower strip. So again, it's not going to wave and it's going to be tight. So to cut the 1.5 inch belt, I'm going to put this in here. I'm going to snug it up against there. I want this piece to actually, it does move. I want it to be flat on the bottom, and to have this paper piece squared against this piece flat on the bottom, and then I turn this and tighten it, and then so it's going to stay in the place I want it. I tighten it a little bit with pliers. Now I pull that piece out. Now this is set to cut the belt the width I need for the 1.5-inch belt. So now the next step in the process is I'm going to take my belt stripper here, and I'm hoping this is good. I have to go this way because I want to show down here on the leather though. Now I have to put this along here, and I have to keep this part of this tool flush against the edge of the leather, and it's going to cut the belt strip. And again, see, because these are so big, I have to keep moving them around in here, and I have to be careful that I'm not going to bang the camera here. As long as I'm keeping that flush against the edge of the leather. And sometimes at the end is the hardest part, and I'm sorry, I can't not do it this way. And see, now this is where it's a little soft there, which this end is gonna be cut off anyways, but it's making it a little funky here for me to cut. So see that end, now I'm gonna have to straighten this little tip out here because I went out. So, so that's where, again, next time I'm gonna have to take the ruler along this edge and make sure I straighten that out. Which every few belts you do have to check, because you tend to start to wave a slight bit over time. If you know, because I'm cutting like a lot of belts. So again, see, starting from up here, it tends to go off a slight bit. So I'll straighten that with that X-Acto knife this next time. I can actually do that here probably now, because I can move this way on the table. Again, see, and I'm really cutting against myself because I need to stand on the opposite side of the table. And that's what's so. It usually takes more than one cut to get through the leather, because you do need to have a lot of downward pressure to. And again, see, I really need to be facing the other direction to do that, but actually that's not too bad. So that's basically how that's done. That's cutting, and so each strip is cut one at a time into the lengths. Then I need to look at it and see, again, this end of this belt looks very good. But this was the end that's a little sketchy. So some of this is going to be cut off because it's a little rubbery, which will make the, end of the belt a little different in length. And then one end will be the buckle end, which is usually the softer end I use to make the buckle end. And again, I'll talk about how I finish the edges. Now these edges are very square and so forth. So the next step is to bevel the edges and so forth, so they're rounded off, so they're not as sharp against your body. They're more rounded, which makes it more comfortable, which is another step I take when I finish my belts. All right, so that's pretty much going to wrap it up for today. Next time, again, I'm going to talk a little bit more about how I do the edges and so forth. And, another week is stamping the designs. Another week is coloring the designs and finishing them. So really finishing in the edges, I probably do as one. Coloring and painting are the other two. Or stamping the design. So that will probably be the next video. 2 will be on the stamping. Video 3 will be on the coloring, and video 4 will be on finishing the edges and so forth and rounding them off and everything. Thank you very much. Again, please subscribe to my channel if you want to find out more about how I make my belts and see some more of my products. My website is Log Cabin Leather by Jan. Please check that out to see more of my products. I've been making handmade leather products since 1977. Belts are just one of the things I make. Let's see what else. Join my email if you want to get the best deals and discounts on my products. You can do that right from my website too. You'll get an automatic 20% discount off your first order if you join my email. You just missed a giveaway I have. I have 2 or 3 giveaways a year before a new product launch. I also have a new product coming out, which has nothing to do with belts coming out and so forth. So there's all sorts of things like that that are happening. So the best way to find out about those things is to join my email. And then you'll be the first. You become a VIP insider, and then you'll get the first-hand information on any of the things I'm doing, where I'm doing shows, links to all the videos that I make, access to new products before they launch to the public, and different bonus things like that. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, this is Jan from Log Cabin Leather by Jan. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye.